I remember when I couldn't even riffle shuffle. Hey guys, around 3 years ago, I started cardistry. Now I don't remember the exact date, but I know it was during the summer of 2018. So I'm gonna take you back all the way through my entire cardistry journey, and hopefully it's not too boring. So yeah, let's get started. I was in 6th grade and we were watching a lot of brain games near the end of school. And then summer came along, so I had a bunch of free time and I just watched more and more brain games. And there's this episode of Brain Games, they featured Andre Jig. And I saw him do like a card spring, so many fans, and other really cool flourishes. And I saw that and I was like, man, I want to learn how to do that. And they mentioned that it was called cardistry and that Andre was a cardist. So I went straight to YouTube and I typed up cardistry, and I saw a Theory 11 video featuring Andre Jig. And I'll link that down below so you can watch it too. And I just saw more and more cool stuff. And I was like, wow, I have got to learn this. So I found a deck of cards. It was actually a deck of cards, the Blue Aviators, that I was practicing riffle shuffling with. So I actually didn't start from the very beginning, like I said. 6th grade, we also played a lot of card games, and my friends, some of them knew how to do a riffle shuffle, so I wanted to learn how to do riffle shuffle too. But anyway, going back to actually cardistry, I just learned the first few basic flourishes, like spring, and my thumb was so sore. I learned the Charlier cut, of course. So those, of course, were the basics that I worked on for several days. And then later, I, of course, learned Sybil, revolution cut, dribble, all that good stuff. So we just went months and months just practicing cardistry. I stayed up way too late, literally just springing the cards over and over and over again. Also, whenever I first started, the only channel I watched for cardistry was 52 Cards. Now that's a really great beginner channel, but if you want to like continue on to learning cardistry, you need to branch out to other channels. That was a big mistake of mine that I made. So luckily I found channels like Dealer's Grip, Rise Magic, Anyone Worldwide, Chris Ramsey, just a lot of other great channels out there besides 52 Cards. Again, 52 Cards is great, but if you want to be more advanced, find other stuff. But yeah, that's my first summer of cardistry basically. Now going into school, I was a lot busier and I was wanting to learn L cuts. However, the worst thing I ever did was give up on L cuts, and I just took a break from cardistry because I was so busy with school and stuff. I just had decks on my desk collecting dust. Finally, I decided to come back to cardistry, and I couldn't spring, so I had to rebuild some muscle from that. And I rewatched a tutorial for L cuts, I believe by Dealer's Grip, and I was like, oh wow, this was not as hard as I thought. And looking back, I'm so glad I haven't given up cardistry since then. But yeah, just keep on practicing throughout school. And then I think that summer after school, which would be my first like year of cardistry almost, but during that summer I started learning more moves, and that's when my cardistry kind of kicked off a little more, because during school it was all just basics like Sybil and squoze. Those were my go-to 2-card flourishes. Now the moves I've learned are mostly based off of like Rise Magic. I'm sure you can tell already, like Rise Magic has influenced several cardists, so you see a lot of people performing Faced and Squoze and Barolo too, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Those moves are so good, so fun, so smooth. At that same time, I was also wanting to start a YouTube channel because I was inspired by Rise Magic. Now this is like 10 months into my cardistry journey, which is way too early to start a YouTube channel, in my opinion. I kind of regret starting a YouTube channel so early, but we haven't even gotten there yet. But yeah, I wanted to start a YouTube channel, so I started filming my cardistry and some of my progress. If I were to go back through my phone, I can see a whole bunch of videos where I filmed myself doing basic moves, but my performance was so trash. It's so bad. But yeah, just practicing throughout school and stuff. Basically, the practice and the school stuff is kind of boring, so I'm kind of skipping past that. Here we go into November. It snowed, so I was like, I should make a video and do some cardistry. And that video was my first video here on the channel. And it was complete crap. It's so bad. The only reason I have it still up is so I can look back and see, wow, that is some major improvement. Also, so you guys can laugh at it too. You're welcome. But yeah, I started my channel way too early. My cardistry was not smooth. It's still choppy. But I believe that is my first year of cardistry. I think that's when I started buying more decks and decks and decks. And at Christmas, I believe, I got some stuff for filming. So Christmas, New Year, more practicing. Back to summer again, where I learned more and more moves. But yeah, my learning of flourishes usually takes off more in the summer because I have more free time, no school. My learning slows down more in the winter, also because it is cold, and cardistry with cold hands is very difficult because your hands are numb. And we all know during 2020, COVID hit, so I had even more free time. So instead of doing online school, I was just practicing cardistry. But yeah, by my second year, I knew way more stuff than I did my first year even. I feel like your second year is where you start understanding, like, your first year, like, oh wow, but then your second year, like, just bigger. I don't know how to explain it. You realize more and more stuff that with the more experience you have. I have found that it is easier for me to learn more difficult flourishes because I'm used to seeing different grips and mechanics. And I can even learn from just performances or not so good tutorials, anyone, because I'm still used to like noticing specific details. Like I know I need to look for a certain like grip or certain finger placement on a deck, on the packet. So I've gotten better at that too because I'm more experienced. That sounded like I'm bragging. I'm not trying to brag. But yeah, by year 2, I knew way more moves, way more names in the cardistry community. And now I'm on to year 3 and I know even more. I've learned so many moves that some flourishes have like similar mechanics. And I'm so used to performing one move that whenever I'm trying to do another move, I just perform the completely wrong move. Like for example, with these 2 flourishes. And then other moves are just so addicting that all you do is just practice them over and over and over again, like phased. Now, especially by year 2 though, I noticed my cardistry was so choppy and not smooth. So my biggest goal through this entire year from cardistry year 2 to now is to start smoothing up my flourishes and being better at them, actually mastering them. So I kind of slowed down a little bit on learning. Now obviously I've still learned some flourishes, but I've been trying to focus more on smoothing them out and just practicing the ones I already know. And I think that has definitely helped. If you were to compare my newer videos to my older ones, you would see the flourishes look way better. And I've also learned more tips along my cardistry journey as well, and I have a full video on that. Here are some other things that you learn being a more experienced cardist. It's more about conscious practice at first when you first learn a move, and then once you know it enough, you need to start practicing it more unconsciously so you can get better at not having to stare at your hands. Another really big, important thing I learned was that there are parts in some flourishes that you need to perform at the same time to improve the flow. So like for Barolo 2, when you rotate the packet, you also need to do a scissor cut. So that was just like a really quick summary, kind of badly explained too, of my first 3 years of cardistry, how I started, what I've been doing each year. Now, some other things to note is that people obviously learn at different rates and start at different ages. I started whenever I was 12, so do the math, I'm 15 now. Some people start younger, some people start older, and they all learn at different rates. So you may be doing cardistry for 3 years too, but know completely different flourishes and be way better at cardistry than me, or maybe not as good as cardistry as me. Either way is fine. There's nothing wrong with learning slower or learning faster. That's just how it works. Also, another thing to note is that some people are more magic, or some people may be more cardistry, or some are a bit more of both. Like, more cardistry people would be Tobias, more magic would be Shin Lim. I'm more of a cardist, and then a mix of both would be like Franco Pasquale. Hopefully you understand. Yeah, those are some other things I've learned from doing cardistry for 3 years. It really does not feel like I've done cardistry for 3 years. And I never thought I would think about paper the way I do now. Like, whenever I think of paper or playing cards, I just imagine playing games and doing magic tricks. Or that's what I did think of. But now I'm like, oh, playing cards, how do they handle? How do they look? How do they faro? It's just broadened the way I think about things. So yeah, cardistry has definitely affected my life. I would say in a positive way, but negatively because my wallet is empty. Yeah, that's just being a 3-year cardist. I love it though. Hope I never stop. I hope that I keep doing this in the future, not to make a living off of it, but just to keep it as a hobby. That's what it is for me. But it's a really good hobby that I feel passionate about. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's my full 3 years of cardistry. Sorry if that was poorly explained. If you have any questions, be sure to comment them down below. So, yeah, be sure to like and subscribe too. And hopefully I edit this video into something more interesting than what I just filmed. But yeah, see you next time.